Welcome to the Put On Waivers Media Group, home of the Put On Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
Back on the Put On Raiders podcast, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes. I'm talking a little NFL draft here, and we're going to go linebackers, safeties. I'll take those. And then Ryan's going to go running backs and tight ends. I'm taking that we don't have any Barry Sanders or Ty Richardson in this group of tight ends and running backs. Well, let's start off with the running backs. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm looking at I don't think there's a first round back in this mix, and kind of looking at it, I think they're all kind of second tier guys that can play in a platoon. They'd either have third down value or they can be, a first, second down in between the tackles, 10, 12 carry a game guy. I don't see any true standouts. So I'm going to give you my top five, and I picked some third down types, some bruisers, and kind of what scheme they're going to fit in. So at number 5, I went Brian Robertson out of Alabama. Mm-hmm. Big physical guy, 6'2", 225. Ran a 4.53, but hurt his hamstring during the 40 there. So he might be a little quicker than that. Just thinking about him, things that my elevator pitch, when I think about him, I think physical, good feet, power, yards after contact. He doesn't really have that start and stop. So if you can get his feet stopped in the backfield, he's not going to do much. He's a north-south guy. He's not going to bounce it outside. So there's limited upside with him as a deep outside runner, those big gains. But, he can get you the 4, 5, 6 yards in between the tackles. And he's a guy that's going to wear down defenses. So, like I said, bigger back, maybe goal line back. That's kind of where he fits. He's not going to be a third down back. He's not a guy you're going to get the ball 20 times to. He needs to probably be in a gap scheme where he can just run downhill. Number 4, I went James Cook out of Georgia. 5'11", 199. He ran a 4.42 at the combine. He's the opposite of that. He's a slasher. He's an outside zone runner, a guy that you want to toss the ball to, get him on the perimeter. He can catch passes. He can run routes out of the backfield, either split out wide. He can create big plays. My questions with him are pass protection. How is he going to hold up against blitzes when he has to stay in? His contact balance. He doesn't seem to have a ton of strength in his lower body. Kind of the opposite of his brother Dalvin Cook, but there is value for this kind of guy. If he's in a pass-heavy offense, if you put this kind of guy in a Chiefs-style offense, a Rams-style offense, where they're throwing the ball a lot, and they get creative, there is some value there. Number 3, I went Isaiah Spiller out of Texas A&M. Another bigger back, 6 foot, 217, did not run at the combine, did a 30-inch vertical, 9'5" in the broad jump. Now, Spiller's an interior guy, runs with good pad level, good balance, good vision. Sometimes he's too patient. Questions with him, fumbles with the pad level. He's a little upright. Pass protection, again, for a bigger back, you kind of wonder about the pass protection with him. He's probably a first and second down guy. And he's got okay hands in the passing game. He's not going to be an elite third down receiver out of the backfield. So he's probably a first and second down guy that can split some carries. But that's kind of what this draft has. And then the top 2 guys I think are heads and shoulders above this group. Number 2, I went Kenneth Walker, Michigan State, 5'9", 211, ran a 4.38, which is faster than I thought he was going to run at the combine. But when I think of Walker, I think of, a compact, lower to the ground, tough, powerful runner with good contact balance. He's going to break tackles. He's going to get yards after contact. With him, he's probably not overly fluid. So he's a guy that's probably not going to be good in the outside zone, the stretch game. He's probably, again, a guy that's going to have to run between the tackles. He doesn't fumble. That's a good thing. He had 1 fumble and 276 touches last year. But again, in pass, how is he going to be in the passing game, both in protection and as a pass receiver? So again, a guy that's probably a first and second down guy that's going to have to prove he can catch the ball. He didn't really do that a ton at Michigan State. And then the number 1 running back for me is Breece Hall out of Iowa State. Tested fantastically, 5'11", 217 pounds. So bigger guy. He ran 4.39. Explosive in the lower body, had a 40-inch vertical and a 10.6 in the broad jump. So this guy checked a lot of boxes in the workout, but when you watch him, he also is very productive. He ran for 1,472 yards and he had 20 touchdowns 2 years in a row. He's a zone scheme guy. So this is a guy that, he's a smooth runner. He can bounce the ball. He can get out on the perimeter. He's better outside than he is inside, a little upright. So, there's a large target for defensive backs and linebackers to hit him. So you wonder about ball security there, but he can catch the ball too out of the backfield. He's caught plenty of passes at his time in Iowa State. So he's probably the most athletic, but he's got to go to a zone team where you run the stretch plays, you run the outside zone, the perimeter stuff, where he can excel. But again, I don't see a first round back here, but they're all kind of have things you like about them, and there's a lot of questions with all of them. So I'd expect some of these guys to come off the board second, third round. I think you can get a good back in this draft in the 5th round. So there is some volume as you get into day 3, 4th, 5th, 6th round. So I wouldn't jump up and grab one of these guys. I think you can get players similar to this in free agency at a low cost. That's kind of where I am on the running back group. There is no standout slam dunk first round. Even I wouldn't be surprised if no one took any of these guys to the 3rd round, honestly, because you can get some value here in the draft.
I think you're going to see some undrafted free agents. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a great class as far as that goes. Linebackers for myself, my 5 going 5 to 1. Christian Harris from Bama. The guy can flat out move. He can run. He's a powerful tackler. He's great on the chase down. He has this thing in coverage where he likes to, he does a good job of almost like playing the passing lane in basketball, but he tips the ball up in the air where 3 or 4 times this year, his opponent, his teammate was able to get interceptions. I'm not saying a little bit like Patrick Queen, but I think he's better in coverage. As far as that goes, just constantly just on the other side of the line of scrimmage. You can use him as a blitzer. He finishes plays all the time. So I definitely like Christian Harris. I forgot this kid's last name. I'm trying to figure it out now. Oh, I had it. The kid from Wyoming.
Troy Anderson or Chad Mulma?
Moma. Yeah, Moma. Yeah. So flies around. He just fly. I don't know. The biggest thing with him is the competition part of it. But in today's NFL, you have a guy who can run around the way he can. He can cover. He can just closes on any checkdowns. He just pushes that thing backwards. And I love his ability to catch the football as well. He can make nice plays as far as that goes. So I do like him in that aspect. He just has speed for days and just screams through on blitzes and just makes sure, and he always does a great job of bringing people down. Doesn't miss a lot of tackles as far as that go. Corey Walker, quick, strong, good players is my 3rd linebacker. Nakobe Dean, just phenomenal, right? Phenomenal player. His Flores game against Florida was phenomenal. They kind of try to flex him out against the running back. Kind of a hitch route, came in, pick 6. Just fluid in that. He had some great, just kind of make you jump out of your socks kind of hits. I got my garage set up to watch film and watch games and stuff like that. And I had my coffee sitting on the ground and he hit somebody and I just got up immediately. I was like, oh my God, one of those kind of like that. And I spilled my coffee everywhere in my garage because I was so excited the way he just kind of just went through that. The quarterback of Tennessee, he's definitely a guy who I think, first round, beginning of the 2nd round, Nakobe Dean would definitely be an asset to any team. Devin Lloyd is just an absolute monster. he can do pretty much anything you want him to do on a football field. So, you have that. The speed, he's part of the reason why I think in a lot of ways Utah has become the Stanford of the Pac-12. They're just consistent. They just make play. The players don't make mistakes. They can do all these different things. He's smart. He's great against the run. He has hands. He can cover. He can do a lot of different things. I really like him as a player. So he's a number one. Because he's pretty much everybody's consensus number one linebacker. But I do love Devin Lloyd as my number one running back. I'm my number one linebacker in this year's draft.
Yeah, I like Dean. I like Dean. Lloyd's a good player too. I don't think either one of them is going to be there for the Raiders when they're on the clock, honestly.
No, I mean I don't know. Who knows? The Raiders might even Raiders might at this point might pass and not even draft the player at this point. You got your tight ends.
Maybe that's the plan. Maybe they want to trade down and get 1 million second and third round picks to fill the roster. Who knows?
Maybe that's it. It's like stealing, right? It's like stealing.
Yeah. I'll jump over to the tight ends. I think the tight ends, I can say basically the same thing I said about the running back group. I don't think there's a lot of star power at the top, but I think you can get some developmental guys, third, fourth, fifth round that have a chance to be on rosters as tight end 2 types for a long time. I do like some of these guys. I'll start at number 5. I went Cade Otton out of University of Washington, 6'5", 247. He's a 4-year starter. He's got a basketball background. He's got really good hands. He wasn't that productive. I think he had 28 catches for 250 yards and 1 touchdown last year, but the quarterback situation at UW wasn't very good. But he's good in underneath and intermediate routes as far as using his body and creating separation. He's got good hands. He needs to get stronger. He needs to be a better blocker, but there's potential to add some weight here. He's got the upside as the developmental guy to be a tight end too. So I kind of like him in that 4th, 5th round range. As tight end 5 in this draft. Tight end 4, I went Jeremy Rucker at Ohio State, 6'5", 250. This is an inline blocking tight end who's going to be a better blocker, but he catches what's thrown his way. Every time I watch Ohio State, the guy somehow gets in the end zone. He's just a solid all-around tight end, a tight end 2 type. You can block with him. You can use him underneath. You can use him in the red zone. Now, he's not going to stretch the field. He's not going to do a ton after the catch, but he's going to be a reliable guy. 26 catches for 309 yards and 3 touchdowns this year. Tight end 3, I went Isaiah Likely out of Coastal Carolina. These guys are all similarly built. He's 6'4", 245. This is the stretch the field tight end. This is the guy, if you want a guy that's going to run down the seam and make big plays, this is the guy you would target. There's not much here in terms of blocking value, but he can make the big play. He's had 5 touchdowns over 50 yards in his career at Coastal Carolina. The question is going to be, can he improve the blocking enough to use him in line, or is this strictly like the bigger slot tight end, the guy that you're going to split out wide like Mike Gesicki and just have him run down the seam, work the intermediate areas, work the over routes? There's not much here in terms of blocking, but he was productive. 59 catches, 912 yards, 12 touchdowns this year. Number 2, I went Greg Dulcich out of UCLA, 6'4", 243, ran a 4.69 at the combine. I kind of like this guy. He's the move tight end. He's the guy that you can line up in line. You can motion him across formations. You can play in the slot. Now he's a vertical threat over an inline blocker. This is a guy that is an okay blocker, but you're not going to line him up and use him as just an inline guy. He's averaged 17.6 yards a catch in his career. Tracks the ball well. He's solid. There's a solid catch radius. He's good with the ball in his hands. Can he block? That's the question. Like, how much more weight can he put on his frame? He seems to be pretty maxed out right now at 243 pounds, so not the biggest guy. 42 catches for 725 yards, 5 touchdowns this year at UCLA. Again, a run-heavy offense. He wasn't asked to do a ton in the passing game, but he's been productive in his career. He's like the Patriots would probably target this kind of guy. So I could see the Raiders making a move at this guy, 3rd, 4th round if he's on the board. And then number 1 is Trey McBride, who I think is going to be a 2nd rounder in this draft. He's kind of the best combination of both as far as blocking and catching. He's from Colorado State, 6'4", 246. But this guy's probably more physical than the other guys. He's a rocked up 246. He can block. He's an inline blocker, but got really strong hands, good body control. It's just adequate speed down the field. So he's not going to win vertically a ton. But he catches everything. He caught 90 balls this year for 1,121 yards, but he only had one touchdown. So my question is, without seeing the film, like, why was this guy not productive in the red zone? This guy's at Colorado State, playing in the Mountain West. He catches 90 balls, but he can't get in the end zone. So again, it's blocking value. It's the ability to line up in line as a tight end and win in the short to intermediate range and catch everything. That's this guy. So it's pick your poison. It's what do you want? Like, there's not a slam dunk first round. There's no Tony Gonzalez's. There's no Shannon Sharps. There's no Kyle Pitts in this draft. There's no Ricky Dudley's, as you texted me earlier when I told you this wasn't a very good class, although Ricky Dudley didn't turn out to be a very good player either. But it's kind of, whatever you want. If you need a tight end 2, if you need a guy to stretch the field, if you need an inline blocker, there's going to be a bunch of guys available 4th, 5th, 6th round. They're going to make the rosters and provide depth. Maybe you want a guy that can be a special teams guy too. Maybe one of these guys could bring special teams value. But if you're looking for a starter and a high-end pass catcher, he's not in this draft.
So this is not the draft for us. So the tight ends and running backs, and could be undrafted free agents, if you will, something like that. So we'll see what happens there. I'm going to safeties now. Lewis Kine. Really good hitter, covers very well, also gets off blocks. A very good player there. Jalen Petrie, 6 interceptions. So the hands are there, has really good range as well. So, that's my 4th safety. Jaquan Brisker is just, I think the only thing I really have, I mean, he's phenomenal. The thing I have written down is fluid as hell. Like, it just looks like he's he's just fluid as I can't. The tape stands out when I try to find at least a game, some parts of a game, and then some highlights. But he's really fluid. So I definitely like him. Daxton Hill, my 2nd. Really feisty, smart in zone, really good zone player. Also, solid hands, and he also, I like safeties who can come down and cover the slot. He does a really good job covering players in the slot. Big 12. I mean, Big 10. NFL is gonna be a little different, but we'll see what happens there. And then, this guy kind of, there's certain players in this draft who who are like my top guys, and Malik Willis is one. Sauce Gardner is another one. And then Kyle Hamilton from Notre Dame is one of the best players in the draft. He just looks, I hate to call people like freaks, but like when you see somebody who plays safety, who is that big and that long, who can just, can tackle, can hit, has the range to cover, all those things like that. When he blitzes, it's like, forget about it. Like, what I'm saying? Like, it's just, he just, he goes right through it. I hate giving the Irish any kind of positive pub, but the guy he's a phenomenal player. Like, he's one of the top players in this draft. And if he doesn't go in the top 10, I'd be kind of shocked. Cause I can't imagine like a really good defensive coordinator. Like, this is the kind of guy you kind of crave for is a guy like Hamilton who can do so many different things. And you can use him in so many different ways. He's fluid, he's long, he's like, I think he's 6'4". Like, he's the guy's a big guy too, but can just move all over the place. So I would say Hamilton would be the guy who I would be number 1 pick, and one pick of all the safeties, and probably be one of the guys who are going to be in the top 10 in the draft out there in Vegas.
Yeah, Kyle Hamilton is the modern day safety where he could, with his size, he can match up against all these tight ends, the Darren Wallers, the Kelseys. He reminds me of like a longer, more physical Justin Simmons, who's a really good player with the Broncos.
Yeah.
So I don't see any way he gets out of the top 10 with what you need on defense to match up with these offenses nowadays. Passingly, someone's taking him.
Yeah. So I'm just, you see my eyes drifting around. I'm still scouring free agency, folks.
I'm on Twitter right now.
See what's going on. And this whole this whole thing, we're waiting for Bradbury. Like, we'll see what happens there. He's probably a game of chicken there. I mean, if the rumors are it's only a 5th round pick, then just give him the goddamn 5th round pick. I mean, what are we waiting
With
for?
what the corners are coming off the board now, I think his base salary is $13 million. Like,
Yeah,
why would a team not trade and take that contract on for 1 year? And then if you really want, like, if the Raiders really wanted to bring him in,
yeah,
just give him an extension and lower that cap hit down to $3 or $4 million in the first year, and you give up a 5th round pick and you lock him up for a couple more years because the market's really low right now for outside corners.
yeah. Like I'm not. Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. Like I'm not sure what's going on. Kind of like a little
I would
bit
rather
of
have Gilmore personally, but we'll see what happens.
I mean, I was like, though, can we get? I mean, like, I know it's our like our cap, but I mean, I was just like, dude, like, with the way the corners we have, I'm like, let's just get both and just like take it from there. Jesus Lord, and then like and just draft a receiver in the first round. I mean, I can't. I mean, I just like seriously, I don't know, or maybe a receiver on the cheap. It was what's funny. I was looking at I could go back and look at last season, and then like it's kind of funny looking at last season because like. I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, boy, how bad the Raiders were at holding on to leads. They were horrible at holding on to leads. It was really bad. I watched that Miami game and I'm like, I mean, like how many times did I mean, you talk about the 4th downs in the last game of the year against the Chargers last home game, dude. Like he was on, like it was like, let's just hurry up and get on Jacoby Brissett on 4th down because he's gonna make the 4th down. It was like every single time.
That 4th and 20 still haunts me.
I was like, what? I know. Oh my god, what defense you're playing? That was one thing. And what do you think about when you hear the defensive coordinator name Wink Martindale? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Blitz, right? So they go up by 3 against the Raiders with like 42 seconds left, right? And that whole drive where Derek Carr, he connected with like Brian Edwards a couple of times and got him down to hit the field goal, the game time field goal to force overtime, 55-yarder. That every play he rushed 3. I'm like, dude, if you get any kind of pressure, like, I mean, I could like, it always amazes me how these defensive coordinators talk big, bad, and tough, and then when it comes down to it, they rush 3 when the game on the line.
Bradley did it down the stretch last year too.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable as far as that goes. So you think it's gonna be either Bradbury and
Gilmore.
And Gilmore.
I hope so. Because if it's not one of them, who's playing corner on this team?
I mean, they can't double up.
I mean, you could, depending on how creative you get, especially if you get
Bradbury.
If you get Bradbury,
you can restructure it. Yeah. So I mean, you
can get Gilmore on a. My guess right now is Gilmore wants a ton of money. That's why he has it signed, because he was Defensive Player of the Year 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He was hurt last year, didn't have training camp, came in midway through the season to a new team.
Yeah.
So if he can get anywhere close to where he was as Defensive Player of the Year, he probably wants $15-16 million a year, and I don't think teams are willing to give him that, especially with the way the market's going right now. So I'm sure teams are offering him 10 or 12 with some incentives, and he's not wanting it. And clearly, from all reports, it was the 49ers, Jets, and Raiders, and the 49ers and Jets moved on and already signed other guys.
On the corner. So the Raiders are playing a little game of chicken, I think, right now with him and seeing what he does. You gotta go do it. I mean, I'm not sure what's going on as far as that goes. Yeah, that's nuts.
I wish they had $2.5 million they could give him to add to the offer, but they gave that to Down Lovett. So
I love it. Like I don't. It's like certain people just cannot. The coaches change.
It's not personal with him, but like
it's not personal. But like I just don't. I mean, he's not like, oh, Trent Brown is trending. What's the problem? Okay.
Nothing. Yeah, I'm on Twitter right now.
Nothing. Okay. Jesus, don't scare me with that. Him trending. I don't know, dude. I don't know, because I mean, he obviously did the Maxx Crosby. I think it'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Maxx Crosby. We always have him for background and stuff like that. Are you surprised at the lack of guaranteed money in that contract? Because it was
clearly structured in a team-friendly manner. When you look at, I mean, basically after 2 years, they can get out of the contract. Not that they're going to. I still expect him to be a productive player for those 4 years, but they've set it up to where like they can keep extending him pretty easily. So that was, Maxx did the Raiders a solid with that contract with how it was structured. But I was surprised with the guaranteed money. Can you imagine what Maxx Crosby would get on the open market?
Oh my God, maybe it's ridiculous.
More than what the Raiders gave him.
And no question about it. So,
guaranteed money for sure.
And also, where did it come? Like, the Raiders don't play the Bay Area anymore. So where did this like consistent Maxx Crosby and Bosa thing come from? Where does that come from? Like it's like annoying. It's like every time
it came from they were in the same draft, and the Raiders could have had Bosa had they not beaten Arizona. They would have had the number 1 pick if they didn't beat the Cardinals that year. Instead, they end up with the 4th pick. They draft Farrell. The rest is history. Bosa goes off to be what he is, and then Crosby came out of nowhere. So that's where the comparison comes from.
Yeah, my thing about that, I'll never forget that Arizona game, and I've never wanted the Raiders to lose the game so bad in my life, because whether you wanted Kyler Murray or not, just having the flexibility of having the number 1 pick, even if you went with Carr, I mean, they couldn't draft to save their life anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered.
They would have taken Bosa probably.
Oh, they probably would take both. Yeah. I think they probably would take both. No question about it. But like that was not. It was. Can you imagine if they still took Crosby? I mean, well, that's just fool's gold, because they probably.
I don't want to imagine that.
I don't imagine that anymore. I'm so sick.
I want to imagine when they signed 3 special teams players out of the gate free agency.
I know.
Oh, wait,
I know.
I don't need to imagine that. They did that.
They actually did that. So yeah. All right. So we're poking fun. Dave, so get to work out there with John. I mean, I hope we're up doing the podcast. I hope you guys are still working the phones as far as that goes. So Put On Raiders podcast, myself and Ryan Holmes.